What is the cutoff level of EtG for neurological risk for the infant?
And that's another very, very good question that we don't know the answer to. All we know is that the baby has been exposed. And if you refer back to the very beginning of the presentation where we talked about the prevalence rates of self-report, which we know is underreported, you got 0.5% of the moms claiming binge drinking in the last month or trimester. And different studies, there's the PRAMS, there's the BRFSS, there's the National Birth Defect Study. So all of these have slightly different questions, how they ask it. But if you kind of pull all of that together and synthesize it, what we end up with is about 1 to 2% of moms probably drinking significantly in the last month or the last trimester, with maybe in the high single digits, like maybe 8 to 10% are drinking some. And so, you know, your question alludes to we're sort of not worried about them. And I agree. But it's those that, you know, the ones that are excessive drinking are probably the ones that we need to talk about first before we go any further. So just because a baby is exposed to alcohol does not mean that they're going to have FASD. And so coming up with those risk factors is a difficult chore, and I'm not aware that it's been done yet. And the next step in this research is finding out how many of these babies are injured, and that we can detect this using a variety of genetic markers. Now, that's a brave new world going forward, probably the next 10 years. But hopefully at the end of the day, 10 years from now, we will have a mechanism to where we can test a specimen at birth and based on that result, have some idea of the risk that there's going to be damage, and then actually have an objective laboratory test that measures the damage, which just being exposed is not that measure. So it's a really complicated question. And so really what we're left with at this point right now is that we know that these babies are the 2% that are being identified as exposed. That corresponds and is loosely associated with the number of moms that report excessive drinking. And so there's kind of good evidence that that's a similar population. And so now we're in a let's observe and see. And so having that information on hand so that if problems start to arise at age 3 and age 7, at least we've got some sort of evidence, and then it would open up some buckets of money that could help that child and improve his outcome. So that's the goal. But good question. Thank you for that.